Hi everybody, my name is Dakota Montavon. I am the human pondering behind Sprouts.blog, and welcome to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be going into... Hold on, what are we doing today? Okay, I remember now. Woo! What we're going to be covering today is 10 things to avoid that hold us back in life. Now, are these the only 10 things? No. If we went through all the things that held us back in life in one video, like, let's be honest, you'd be here for a while. So I want to make this as short as possible and very actionable so that way you can apply what we've learned in everyday life. Let's get into it. Oh, I should mention, I'm pulling this from an article that I wrote on my blog maybe a few days ago. So if you would like a deeper dive into these topics, maybe I didn't cover everything because I only have a certain amount of time in a video, you can click the link in the description below. I'll have that article linked up for you, so that way if you want to do a little bit more learning on your own end, go for it. I encourage that. That is the next level of learning for you. Number 1 is not asking for help from family, friends, and our community. If you continually don't ask for help, it's going to be pretty lonely. People who thrive and people who are generally living a life of equanimity lean on the people they love. They lean on those they trust. And you give somebody the opportunity of being a dependable person. And in turn, you become somebody who they can depend on as well. And isn't that just beautiful? I think that's freaking stunning. In my mind, that's what moments in life are made of. It's collaboration, creating something together. If you have somebody who you can rely on and you can lean on, it's gonna make it way easier for you. So if you're struggling to carry the weight of something, lean on those support systems. It can be external support systems too. I go to therapy. I've been in therapy for about a year and a half now, going on 2 years, and it's been super beneficial. I've got a psychiatrist as well. I've got a life coach. He's also one of my best friends, my loving and beloved girlfriend, my family, my grandparents, my acquaintances and peers, my tutors at school. There are just so many people who you can rely on if you allow yourself to receive the help that you need. Remember that people care about you. People do care about you. People do want to see you succeed. They want to see you thrive. They want to see you live a full life. Just know that. All right, number 2 is blaming others instead of looking within. Now, don't get me wrong. There are true victims of circumstance. I think we'll all be a victim in one way, shape, or form in life. There are wicked problems like poverty, natural disasters, just real issues that are human-born, but maybe people don't necessarily have control over. People truly are and can be victims. And I want to exclude the extremes, because in those extreme conditions, you have to blame, because you're a victim. But in general, I think most of the time, people tend to point fingers at one another. Who left the ketchup out on the counter? I don't know. Wow, how'd that get there? Weird, I don't know, man. Ketchup fairy? Who left that light on? Oh, last time I checked, the light was off. Well, I am completely flabbergasted. Wow. Who did that? But I act like I'm innocent because I want to avoid pain. I want to avoid what that blame could insinuate, maybe some uncomfortable emotional reactions, or a conflict or an argument. And so sometimes the blame game, I'm like, they did it, or they did it. can save you from the short-term uncomfortableness of that situation, right? But in the long term, it really does not play to your benefit. What does play to your benefit is being just blatantly and extremely honest. And it's vulnerable, don't get me wrong. It will lead to short-term conflict, but it will lead you to long-term resolution and honestly becoming a more complete and confident human being, knowing how to navigate those moments and knowing how to admit fault. That's an important characteristic. Nobody likes a liar. Nobody likes somebody who's blaming other people. You gotta know when you truly are a victim and when you're not. And to always be the victim, you are always the one who doesn't have control. So why not give yourself the power in the situation to be like, you know what, let's see how I'm complicit in this. And that leads me to a quote by Jerry Colonna. He's a leadership coach and author. He has this quote, "How am I complicit in creating the conditions I say I don't want?" When you can identify how you are complicit in a situation or a circumstance or an experience, you give yourself the power to change it in the next moment. And you give yourself the power just to change as a person. And I just want to reiterate, like I said at the beginning, the quote doesn't hold for extreme cases like a pandemic, abuse, extreme acts of violence, wicked acts. However, in most cases, this will aid you in doing the deep work that is necessary to make changes. Number 3 is obsessing about what other people think. I have been a chronic people pleaser since I was probably about, who knows, maybe as young as 10 years old. And I had to people please in my environment to survive it. I had to walk on eggshells. I had to make sure that everything was in my control, and I had to try to control people's emotional reactions because there was a lot of volatility. And so if you could please others to avoid that conflict, to avoid a very, very scary situation or what have you, you would go to great lengths to do that, to put out fires before there was even a risk of a fire, let's say. It's really just, to sum it up, when you start to please others at the expense of your own happiness, joy, well-being, that's when it becomes unhealthy. And yeah, that's over obsessing about what people might think of you, or over obsessing about other people's judgments of you, right? Also, it can play into fear of not meeting other people's expectations of you. Maybe you're afraid of criticism from other people or judgments, and it's because we don't want to feel the emotional response that those judgments or ridicule or criticism brings up. Uncomfortable feelings within ourselves. We question ourselves. We question our own self-confidence, what we value and believe. We question that even. So it's extremely uncomfortable. And I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily to do that a little bit. It's okay to question. It's okay to take people's judgments and digest them. But the key word here is obsess. We don't want to obsess about them, because when we obsess, we are taken out of ourself, and we are constantly in this worried state of mind and walking on eggshells around people because we believe that we have some sort of control over their perception of us, right? So that's what we don't want to do. We just want to be our most authentic self, and sometimes that's going to go against the grain of people, and sometimes it's going to lead you to the people who are going to be there truly on your team for you. Maybe it's about asking the question, where have I put this person on a pedestal? Where have I given their opinion too much weight? And why have I done that? Make sure you are being kind to yourself. Self-compassion is so important here. It's gonna take time to relearn how to do this. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy. It's actually gonna be pretty challenging. But it's a challenge that you can rise to, and it's gonna take time and energy to relearn how to put yourself first. Number 4 is just spending time with the wrong people. There's a quote, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's basically, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I've kind of held it to be true for myself, and so I try to hang around people who are gonna be very supportive and loving and uplifting, and also call me out on my BS as well, because that's necessary. But it's gotta be constructive and not in a way that's like malicious or not conducive to your growth. And this doesn't have to be like people physically. This can be like the forms of media you watch, like the news. Or maybe the content that you watch here on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, what have you. It could also be books that you read. It could also be other forms of media. What else? Television. It could also be lack of people. It could be isolation. And so what I'm getting at is you want to surround yourself with the people who inspire you, the people who you look up to, the people who support you. You want to surround yourself with the right people so that way you are curating your environment and you are, just forming an environment of overall positive well-being. Where do you want to plant a garden, right? Do you want to plant a garden in the desert? Do you want to plant a garden in the ocean? Or do you want to plant a garden in like fertile soil with like balance in its environment and things that are going to support it and try to mitigate the things that are going to harm it, right? We see it in nature. It's the same for human beings, in my opinion. I've talked about this one a lot, but number 5 is not setting an intention for the day. I think it's extremely important to wake up in the morning or maybe before bed, set an intention. What do you want this day to mean to you? Because if you don't set an intention, your attention is going to be dragged about whichever way. And by setting a vision for what you want the day to look like, you can have an aim to put your energy into those things. If you come back to an intention, today I want the day to mean this, you can write it out, have a reminder on your phone, what have you, but if you say, today's intention is blank, and you come back to it, you're gonna constantly be putting your energy into that. And ultimately your day will become what your intention is. And if you're living a day or a life, even, some people live a life of unintentionality, then you might regret the life that you've lived. I just don't want that. I don't want that, for sure. Yeah. Number 6, wasting time on social media. I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I doom scroll. That dreaded doom scroll, man. I'm not saying social media is bad. I think social media can be very positive. There are communities. It can help with isolation, make people feel less lonely. But it can also do the opposite. Social media itself isn't bad, but it's how we use it. And we can abuse it. We really can. And if you're constantly wasting time on social media or you're on it for excessive amounts of time, it can be quite negative. And so this is where the intentionality of the last example comes in. If you are intentionally consuming, if you're going on there intentionally and being like, okay, well, maybe I'll do 5 minutes here and just comment on a few friends' posts to show support and love and to kind of catch up with people and make it into a real experience that you have a mission for, like, that's when social media is at its most positive. Intentional consumption. But if you're doing it unintentionally and it's consuming a lot of your day and you find yourself anxious and stressed after you've consumed it, or maybe down and depressed, or even more alone, like, that's when it gets kind of bad. So use it sparingly and use it with intention. What other things do we need to avoid to live a better life? We need to avoid being hard on ourselves. People are so hard on themselves. I think I don't know if it's a difference in culture or what have you, but here in America, like, we kick ourselves in the butt and then we continue to kick and then we curb stop and then we drag ourselves through the mud and give ourselves wedgies, push our heads in the toilet, and there's a little dingleberry in there. But we're hard on ourselves. And it's taken me a long time and a lot of therapy to retrain the voice inside of me, to make it be one of support rather than criticism, one of love instead of self-hatred and self-loathing. And you're not going to come to a place right away of I love myself, especially if you're in a place as deep and as dark as I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I hate myself, right? I've been there. But over time, with support from people that you love, with support from people that you trust, from just retraining your thoughts from the dark thought to the next step, and then the next step after that, and then the next step. So the next step after that dark thought might be, you know what, I might not love myself today, but I'm a person who is learning how to love themselves. That much I can believe. I might not believe I'm worthy today, but I am a person who is learning how to be worthy. And then you take that next step. Based on those next beliefs that you can micro-believe in, that you can start to believe in, eventually you get to the place of, I am worthy. You get to a place of, I freaking love myself. I'm a beautiful human being and so are you. And believe it vehemently in your heart and your mind and your soul. And when you get to that place, it's constant work and you keep discovering deeper levels of that. But yeah, I just want you to know that there's hope. As somebody who's been in a place of being very hard on themselves to the point of it being just downright cruel. And now I'm at a point of, man, I feel larger than life, and look at this person. I support them. I'm with you. You don't have to worry because I've got you and you're safe, and I want to support you. Like, that level of self-compassion, just, there's no expressing it. And if you're not there and you are hard on yourself, have some solace in that. You're going to get there. Just keep working and take that next step. Not the giant leap right now, but just take that tiny step. And then another. The journey of 1,000 miles was made first with one single step. So keep that in mind. Number 8, not reading books that support your development. This kind of plays into like the hanging around with the wrong people. If you're reading stuff, I love reading. I'm a voracious reader. And I read things that are going to just stimulate me, and that are going to overall give me more of an edge in experiences. I want to be more present. I want to be more aware. I want to be a better communicator for the love of my life. I want to be a better son. I want to be, eventually, when my girlfriend and I, if and when we get married, which I'm hoping, because I'm planning on it and we're planning on it together, building a future together. If we ever had kids, I want to be a better father. And when and if we do get married, I want to be a better husband. So I'm going to read books to help me develop that. The thing we should avoid is reading the books that are not going to really contribute to just a meaningful life. You want to read books just to help, like I said, stimulate you, that are going to help you sprout new ideas, that are going to help you find contentment, that are going to help you be the best person you can be in the next moment with those people. That means so much to you. Number 9. Ooh, we're on number 9. Let's see. Number 9. So divine. Ooh. All right, so number 9 is being inflexible with our opinions and beliefs. Bruce Lee actually has this incredible quote, and I'm going to read it to you right now. He says, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." And water is this completely formless, shapeless, boundless, flexible, thing. I kind of see water as like the soul, and the containers that you put water in are like your beliefs, opinions, judgments, maybe it's language, things that we identify with, right? And water takes on the shape of the container that it's in. And if you're allowing yourself to be flexible in your thinking, if you just give yourself a little bit of space, you'll see that, oh my gosh, like I don't have to be so rigid on this. Oh my gosh, like this isn't necessarily correct. An example is what I've been talking about, what I said earlier. I had those very cruel beliefs to myself that I was worthless because I was homeless for 7+ months and I was insecure and I was a thief stealing food from people off the streets and from people who I was staying with. So I had this idea of myself that I was just the lowest of the low. I was scum to the world. I don't believe that now, but that's how I saw myself. And that was the container that I was in. My soul felt so small because I was in this tiny container of unlovability. Now hold on, let me hypothesis test this. Are all human beings born unlovable, unworthy? The answer is no. If you look at the humans, the whole of existence, we are tremendously worthy of love. We come into the world and generally our parents love us tenderly. We need love to even survive in the world. So no, that belief of I am unworthy is not true. So why does it have to be true for me? And why does it have to be true for you? And you come to the conclusion of it doesn't. And so from there, you can work your way out of that small container and come into a better container that serves your growth. Kind of like a hermit crab. Hermit crab is in this tiny little shell and then it grows and grows and grows and it feels those growing pains and it knows better. Oh my gosh, like the container I'm in is too small. Well, what do I gotta do? I gotta shed it and get into the next one that's going to be more productive for me to grow. And that's what being flexible in our beliefs and opinions does. It allows us to shed the container and to put ourselves in another one, or to just put ourselves in nothing and just experience what it's like to be fully flexible in our thinking and opinions. I don't know if that's even possible, but like it's a thing to strive for sure, because otherwise being inflexible in our beliefs and opinions can be kind of miserable. Number 10 is actually inspired by the author Bronnie Ware from her book, actually right here, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. This is where I got the number 10 reason. And it is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. We want to avoid living the life that people expect of us. And instead, we need to live the life that is true to us. Can you imagine having that regret at the end of the line? I could not imagine it. And yet, that might be the most popular regret of the dying. Wishing to have lived as their most true and authentic self instead of the life that others expected of them. Living the life that wasn't their life. That's got to be so hard. And so we don't want to do that. We want to really look inside and say, hey, am I being the truest version of me right now, or am I living a life that other people want me to live? let me ask you this question, because it'll ultimately inform your next decision. Would you rather disappoint people now in the short term, or live with regret in your heart when you leave this earth knowing that you didn't live your truest life? Which one is more unbearable? And I don't mean to say that to scare you. I mean to say that to empower you, to not feel guilty about it if you are living a life that somebody else is kind of saying you should live. I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to be more aware and say, oh my gosh, like, you know, maybe I should develop the courage to step into my most authentic existence. Because at the end of the day, all the things that I'm worrying about right now really aren't going to be a big worry when I'm on my deathbed. At the end of the day, I just want to be so utterly happy with the life that I've led and say it was beautiful because I lived it truly. And I want you to feel that too. Alright guys, that's the end of the video, and if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, let's communicate. What do you want to see here on the channel? I just want to make this the best experience for you. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that notification bell because I don't want you to miss a post from me. And if you want to go that extra mile, it really helps the channel and our community here at my YouTube channel. If you share the video with people that you love, I challenge you to share it with 3 people who need this today. Alrighty. Well, this is Dakota Montavon, the human pondering behind Sprouts.blog, and I'll see you in the next YouTube video. See ya!